Grandstand Bettors here with 32 NFL season previews in 32 days. We are on day 21, and it's time to dive into what many people called the NFC least last year, aka that NFC East. And we're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles. As always, guys, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our team previews for all our season-long NFL picks. And go ahead and smash that like button because in less than 3.5 weeks, the NFL season is upon us. Oh, it's a good time of the year. Before we get into that Eagles season preview, just a reminder, we're giving away $1,000 in our NFL contest this year at grandstandbettors.com. The link is below in the description. Head on over to grandstandbettors.com, get signed up. It's absolutely free, and give yourself a chance to take home $1,000 this NFL season. While you're over there, become part of the grandstandbettors.com family and start living that grandstand life. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the Philadelphia Eagles season preview. And to do so, let's take a quick look at their 2020 season. Now, to sum things up, they absolutely tanked. Carson Wentz was horrible. He threw 15 interceptions and he fumbled 10 times in 12 games before finally being benched by Jalen Hurts. Now, their offensive line was horrible with wide receivers that were subpar, and their defense gave up 26 points per game, giving them a 4-11-1 record, which was good enough for dead last in the NFC East division. Their preseason over-under last year was 9.5, so condolences to all the Philly fans who had faith in Wentz, who thought they would get them a 10-win season. Now, despite how awful their season was last year, there is some hope for Philly behind Jalen Hurts, who definitely showed promise in the 5 games he did start last season. Now, adding wideouts, though, to this roster has to be imperative for the Eagles front office if they want to see the ball move down the field on a regular basis in 2021. Their defense last season wasn't terrible. They ranked right around the middle of in the NFL in rushing and passing defense, but as we did mention, they gave up 26 points per game. The question is, how is that possible? Well, if you put 2 and 2 together, the reason they gave up so many points, but not due to the passing yards and the rushing yards, is because of the fact that every time they got on the field, their opponents were already in their territory because of their offensive woes with Wentz. Now, there are some positions that can be worked on, but not as big as the O-line and wide receiver position. If we want to get into their 2021 season preview, let's dive into their offseason moves first. The biggest offseason move was parting ways with Carson Wentz, which we think was the right move. This puts the franchise's future in the hands of second-year player Jalen Hurts. In 5 games, as we mentioned, he did play well. He looked pretty good. The only thing the Eagles have to do now is protect him. The Eagles' starting 5 linemen are good, led by all-pro center Jason Kelce, but they obviously lacked depth since they went through countless injuries last season and resulted in going through 14 different combinations of linemen over the 16 games last season. The only addition to the line they made this offseason was tackle LaRaven Clark from Indy. So, they seem to think that they have confidence in their O-line. We beg to differ. We'll actually see how it plays out this year. As long as they stay healthy, they should have a much improved line this season, but we'll see. And this is going to make or break Hurts. Will he be running around the field just like Joe Burrow did last season, trying to save his life, or getting rid of the ball too early, which we all know usually translates into interceptions for young quarterbacks? Their running game, though, has some promise behind Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and they added Karen Johnson from the Lions to the mix, who will serve as a good backup in case of injuries, which Sanders and Scott both had last year. At wideout, they did not make any additions to help this young core out in the offseason in terms of free agency, which is a very young, good wide receiver core. If anything, though, they probably got worse before the draft as Deshaun Jackson was signed by the Rams. For whatever reason, they seemed that they're going to put their trust in Jalen Reagor and Travis Fulgham, but they did use one of their draft picks when the time came for a wide receiver. With their 10th pick in the draft, the Eagles selected Devonta Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama. He kind of reminds us kind of like a quicker Travis Benjamin, since he only weighs like 170 pounds. So it's going to be interesting to see if this guy can stick around the league and avoid any injuries from safeties who hit much harder than the guys in the SEC. Shh, don't tell him that. In the second round, the Eagles selected Landon Dickerson, also out of Alabama. We don't really know why they chose him for this pick, since they already have an all-pro center, as we alluded to right now. But don't be surprised if this guy might transition into a guard or tackle position and does find his way in the lineup this season. With the exception of a running back selected in the 5th round, the Eagles drafted 6 defensive players, 2 of which were defensive tackles and a defensive edge, undoubtedly to add depth to their front 7, which needs it as they gave up 128 yards rushing last year. They will most likely hang around in the middle of the NFL ranking for defense yet again, but if their offense doesn't turn over the ball that much this year, they will definitely give up less points, as their secondary is definitely above average. If we get into their schedule this season, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL, but even with that said, their over-under is still at 6.5. Can they be a 7-win team? Well, their divisional matchups, no matter how good any of the other teams are, they always seem to find a way to split with all the NFC East opponents. But this year, we like them to lose to either Dallas or Washington twice this season and go 2-4 in the divisional play. The rest of their NFC opponents this year features the NFC South, San Francisco, and Detroit. And we can honestly see them losing all these games, as the easier ones, Detroit, Carolina, Atlanta, are all away games. But we think they'll probably go 1-5 here through these games, with definite losses against the Bucks, Saints, and 49ers. With only 5 games then left on the schedule against AFC opponents, that gives them only 3, maybe 4 wins, meaning they would have to win 3 out of their last 5 games against the AFC West and the Jets. That's a hard task. We have them beating probably the Jets and maybe the Broncos, although that game is in Mile High, as well as they could pull an upset, I guess, against the Raiders. But most likely they're only going to win 2 out of 5 of those games if they're lucky. So we have them at 6 wins, hitting just below that under of 7. They didn't make enough moves this offseason, to be honest with you, to make a significant impact on their offense or boost their defense that much. That can have a solid unit on both sides of the football to help win games effectively for them. So we have our best bet for the Philadelphia Eagles season over under 7. Eagles fans, what do you think your team's going to do this season? Put in the comments below and let us know your season win total predictions. For us here at Grandstand Bettors, it's going to do it for our Philadelphia Eagles season preview. As always, sit back, relax, enjoy our NFL season previews, enjoy the preseason, and we'll see you tomorrow.